As we look forward to the midterm elections, as we see the violence, the attempted assassination of Nancy Pelosi that led to the hospitalization of her husband, Paul. I mean, so many things that feel unprecedented inside the United States. Talk about, just for a couple of moments, where you see the great vulnerabilities in domestic violence and instability in the context of U.S. national security.
So it's a fascinating question because our greatest national security threat right now is really an insider threat to a great degree. You know, it's remarkable, Ian, if you and I were sitting around in late 2016, as we began to understand the scope of the Russian interference in the 2016 election, and we said, where do we think this will be in 6 years? I think what we would have said is greater Russian interference, more Chinese interference, and we are seeing China try to figure out a little bit about our election system and disinformation, maybe more from Iran or North Korea. But I don't think, Ian, that we would have thought that the number one threat to the stability of our election system was going to be Americans who were trying to put in place the vote counters so that they could assure a victory for their favorite candidate or attempt to assure that. And that really is the number one problem. And it's backed up by a new acceptance that if you don't like the outcome of an election, violence is then in some way warranted. We haven't seen that in this country in 125, 150 years, except for, at sporadic moments. And that's the big concern that comes out of the polling numbers that show that there's still a substantial minority of Americans who believe that Joe Biden was not legitimately elected president. And that's pretty remarkable. You would have thought that over time that would have dissipated, and instead it's held quite steady.